Wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
And now for something completely different.
Well, hello and welcome. And this week we're going to be doing something different. I have a couple of projects on deck that I am waiting for light kits to come in or decals to come in. So while that's happening, I'm going to take a little detour. And the detour this week is courtesy of the mighty BMW Isetta 250. This is, as best I can research, the 1957 Isetta 250, the bubble car. I like the look of these. I just like unique looking vehicles, and this to me, it pushes all the buttons. I picked this up at IPMS for not so much. It was fairly cheap, but I've decided this week I'm going to give it a go, and I have not yet decided whether or not to try to light the headlights. That would be fun. Put the headlights, maybe the tail lights. We'll see. We'll see how easy this is going to be to light, because there's not a lot of room in it. It is a 1/16 scale. I joke that the box is, almost life-size, but it's not. Welcome back to the mess. It's Tuesday, and I had an order come in this morning, so I had to jump on that first thing, but I'm taking advantage of a rare lull in the proceedings to catch up on what's been done to the Isetta. After I've got the rolling chassis pretty much done, I went back in this morning with the weathering and the smearing and the the streaking grime and the rust texture and the oil stains and things like that, and started working on making the undercarriage look a little less clean and shiny. I still want to do a clean and shiny look for the bubble in the interior itself, but I'm not going to be a fanatic about it. I mean, come on, the engine's going to be dirty, and the undercarriage has got some rust on it. So aging that up and playing with that, and I think that's coming along real well. And I've got a white coat on the exterior so that I can do the two-tone version, and I've chosen my color, which is going to be flat blue. Well, it's going to be blue, which is, in keeping with what's on the instructions. But I think I'm going to try something a little bit different with the top coat of the blue that you'll have to wait and see. And now I'm doing the material aspects of it, like the cloth sunroof and the interior on the front of the only door, really. I was going to say the front door, but the only door. And even though the bench seat has a couple big old decals to do the pattern on it, I figured I would pick a color that it would go well against for the areas that the decal is not going to be seen on. So got those drying. Now yesterday I also went back in and faux chromed. I mean, I painted them black and then I painted them silver on top for the roof racks and the carriage rack. It's not really a roof rack, it's a trunk rack, and the rack that goes up in here. And now I'm thinking about what color I want this back deck to be, and everything in the instructions makes it look like a symphony of grays. It's like a flat gray, a medium gray, and a gloss gray, and then a blue gray. And it's like, no, it's too much gray for this little happy car. So I'm thinking I want to do maybe a wood grain back in here, like a wood deck. Would that be fun? So I'm gonna get some browns out and do that, and then this sits in here very nicely. And of course the top goes over top of it like that, as tops are wont to do. But looking at my other colors and seeing what will balance nicely against them, that's gonna go something like that. I'm thinking a brown back there would actually be kind of nice to balance out all this blue. So let me pull out a good suitable brown. Good morning, folks. It's Wednesday, and we're set to do something big and colorful today. I'm going to paint the blue, the body color, on the tiny, mighty Isetta, and we will finally get to see some true aspect of what this little puppy's going to end up looking like. Now, I made the mistake, and I'll cop to it. It was a mistake. It was a presumption more than it was a mistake. It was a presumption. And when I was painting the rims on this, I presumed they would just be metallic rims, steel or aluminum. So I painted them silver. And then I went back and looked at the instructions and looked at some pictures, and I realized I was missing an opportunity because although the instructions say to paint them blue, like the body color, the picture on the cover shows them white. And I thought, well, that's an interesting opportunity to make them color. So I went back and repainted them gray. I'm going to paint the gloss white over top of it. I always find, and I've said this before, I always find it easier to pick a mid-color when I am repainting something or going from a very dark to a very light. I always paint it first with a mid-color and then put the top color or the top coat of the final color over that, because then the top color paint doesn't have to work as hard to do the covering and the coloring at the same time. So I picked a nice medium gray and I put the medium gray over that, and now I can do the gloss white over top of that and not have to use up as much gloss white to do it. So but I've got the two-tone taped off, the two-tone tape taped off, and I'm ready to put down the blue. All right, I've got the blue laid down now, and over top of the regular flat blue, the flat blue, I put a light coat of the clear blue, which gives it a little pop. Of course, it glosses it up, but it gives it a little bit of shine, a little bit of candy flaking. And I'm going to let these two pieces dry over there, and I'm going to clean out the brush, which is always fun. Okay, I switched it up a little bit. I was looking at it and I was thinking the white was a little bit obvious. So I went to a light blue. So now we're going to have a two-tone blue on blue Isetta. And this kind of reminds me of the old Oldsmobile I had, or not, I didn't have, my parents had when I was a wee youngin'. That was a two-tone green thing. It was like mint green on the top and hunter green on the bottom. And this is hearkening back to that. It's a blue on blue. So now that I've got these areas painted, I'm going to let this dry and then we'll come back to it. Okay, welcome back. It's Thursday. And the car is moving along quite nicely. We're down to the fiddly little detail parts and the chrome parts today. I'm really happy with the finish that has dried overnight on this. This is really the glossy finish I was looking for. So now I'm starting to do the little fiddly bits, and I'm coming up on the big old quandary, and I'm sure everybody out there who's built a car has had this same issue, and it is the issue of the big old rubber gasket that goes around the windows, the windshield particularly, in the back window here. And I'm wondering whether I should try to paint that, whether I should try to make some sort of vinyl for that, or whether I should just ignore it and leave it alone completely. It does not look all that finished without it, and it is noticeable on the instruction sheet, but that's going to require some high degree of detail painting to get that right. And I don't know if I'm up to it. So that's where I'm at today. Now, I've been playing with the interior a bit. I aged up the cloth insert on the front of the door. I've aged up the seats. I put the decal on last night, and I've aged up the seat. I need to knock the shine off of that, unless that's supposed to be a vinyl seat, in which case I'm happy with it. Playing with the little, like I said, the little fiddly details. There is a inner deck rack here that's kind of delicate, and the accoutrement and instrument gauges and things like that. So that's where we're at right now. I'm happy with the rolling chassis. I just put another coat of white on the hubs so that I can put the tires on them and be done with that. So and I've lightened up the interior tub a bit. So I need to get to the point where I'm happy with some of these colors and stop fiddling with them and do the construction as needed. So what I want to do is, I think, age up this back deck a little bit. It's all one flat color, and I think I may want to put some darker wash on that, just to lay into some of this what I'm calling a wooden deck. It's got some sort of textured pattern to it, so before I glue this thing down, I want to age that up a bit. So let me put a quick wash over that and see how that goes. Alrighty, I'm continuing with the detail work, and I think I've decided to split the baby, as it were. I have painted the frame where the window is going to go black, and not the window itself, and I'm going to see how well that transfers through the window and gives the impression of that gasket before I decide whether or not I'm going to paint on the actual clear part or not. I did go through and I painted the silver chrome accent along right at the base of the windows there. The back rack, I've got some of the chrome details on there, and they're all looking rather spiffy. And touching up the chrome on these guys, I've simulated a nice wood grain in here, I think, for the back deck, and letting that dry, and working on the suitcase here. There's a lot more colors in here than you would guess for a simple suitcase. I've got to repaint over the spine parts, the edges, the reinforcing guys here. But I've got good base colors on that, I think. Now the suitcase is going to have more wear on it and more damage on it than weathering than maybe the car does, because, you know, the suitcase has gone many more places probably than the car has. So there's nothing like putting an old beat up old suitcase on the back rack there. See what else. Oh, I have started working. I haven't decided. I think the nice thing about this kit is that you can swap out the roof, the cloth roof. So I'm not going to glue either one of these down, but I painted in some detail on that, and then of course I've got the full closed one there, and little things like that. I've gone in and put the hubcaps down on the wheels, and those look real good. I've got to do a permanent attachment on the tires. Now the tires have white wall decals, and I've never stuck a decal down to rubber before, and these are the rubber tires. So I'm kind of curious. I'll try one, see how well the decal sticks, and if it doesn't, well, then they're just going to be black walls, because I'm not going to try to paint a white wall on there. That would just be ridiculous. So I'm going to let these things dry, because I'm working on tiny little fiddly bits, and every time I go to pick one up, I end up touching some wet paint. So we're going to let these guys dry, and then I'll come back to it in a bit. Well, I'm kind of finishing up the work on the interior here. I've got some weathering and some dirty boot prints around the pedals, and I've painted in these side details. I don't know exactly what that's supposed to be, but it looks good silver, so I'll make it silver. And I guess the next step on it is to put the chair in place, glue it down, and then pop the whole thing on top of this and glue it to that. Get that whole Megillah ready. And the circles are getting smaller now. I painted the window frame. You can see the window frame there is painted black. And I painted the indentation black, but I've not painted anything on the glass itself. And I'm wondering if that's going to be enough, or am I still going to end up painting the black gasket there. I've got that big one, and I've got the one on the front. The side ones don't seem to have any black gasket. They do get, and I used a little piece of that aluminum, or that chrome tape left over from the D7 that I built a few weeks ago, to go between those two windows, and that looks nice, and I don't have to try to, you know, finesse any paint there. So let's see how it looks when I put it in place here. I'm trying to do that with one hand. Oh, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to use some of the clear, probably use the microcrystal clear to use that as clear glue. The canopy cement, the tester stuff, is a little too runny, and I think I want something that's a little thicker, has more body to it. But I'm going to keep the windows out until last, so that may not happen till tomorrow. Tomorrow I want to be done with this. So I think today what I've got left to do is what I can do on the dashboard, such as it is. That's your dashboard. And start putting some of these decals down on the interior. They weirdly go Like on the wall here, there's decal over here. Some of these other things that need to get taken care of. And I'm going to take one last stab at evening up those colors. There's an itchy right here that you really can't see all that well, where the color I had hand painted it and it doesn't quite exactly match. So I'm going to have to touch that up. But there's the black frame of the windshield. When I put the windshield over top of it, it looks okay. I can see black around the edges, which is all I really want to do. So that may be the pattern I use, or the model I use for addressing the back window as well. Okay, I've put the first decal on the tire, and I've learned that it's best to have the tires on the rims before you put the decal down, because of the amount of handling and stretching is bad on the decals. It's hard on them. So now that they're all down, and I've not glued these tires to the rim, because I can't really think of any way of doing that won't end up messy, because it is rubber onto styrene. You know, it would either take CA or epoxy to glue those two together, and I don't see either of them going on cleanly. So now that those are pressed into place, I think I'm confident enough to put the other 3 decals on the tires, and if they go down, then they'll all go down together. I've stepped away for a few hours and now I'm back, and we're still into Thursday evening. And last thing I'm doing for this before I put this aside for the night is to glue the windows in. Yes, you can see by the glare of the overhead lamp that the windows are in. Got the tape holding these down because these outside corners want to pooch out, so I'm holding them down. I just put them in with some microcrystal clear as my adhesive of choice, and I am trusting that when I come back to this tomorrow, all of the residue will have gone completely clear and crystal, as the name implies, and I won't have to look at any glue residue. So I've got that. I've got the glue in our windows in the front, in the door, in the back, and on the sides. Over here you can see I have repainted that floor for the 9th and final time, and I'm getting down to almost being done. I've got a scant few decals to go on. Oh, you may have noticed I put the license plate decals down. Now I know that they were providing many different decals for, I'm assuming, many different countries, but I went with just the generic one that says Isetta 250 on it, so as to not show favoritism to any one country, plus also to remind me the name and the hey, you know what I see? I see a D and I see an A. What does that spell? Well, it spells duh. If you put it backwards, it says Aztek Dummy. So I'm going to put Aztek Dummy on the bumper. The question is, or the problem I've got is, I can't put it where I'd like to, which is right here and right here, because of the luggage rack that is going to cover that. Luggage rack goes something like this. And I don't know whether I can hide that or whether it would hide it too much. So maybe I'll go with the quarter panel over here. I'll have to look at that in more detail tomorrow. So I like that. I just saw that. I just noticed that, and that's what I'm going to do. And that will finish me up with the decals, except for some stuff that goes inside, and like the name badge on the hood, and a couple other tiny things that I can certainly wait till tomorrow to do. So that's it for tonight. See you in the morning. Good morning. It's Friday. It is the last work day of the week. It'll be the last work day on this Isetta, this big muscle car, this Thunder Road, as it were, because I'm almost done. It's got just down to a few details now, some decals to put on, and the chrome bits to put on, and then the final construction, and we'll be all ready to button this guy up. I'm having a devil of a time with this suitcase for some reason. Paint sticking to it badly, or me not finding the right color combination that I like, or any number of excuses you want to throw at it. But I am pleased to announce that the paint head, or the the micro crystal clear that I put on last night to glue the windows in has set up, and it's giving me the enough of the black border because I painted the recess where the window fits in. I painted that black before I put the window in, and it's giving me enough of the impression of the black gasket that I don't feel I need to paint anything additional on the top of the clear parts. I think you see it through the glass, through the windshield, and that gives me the impression that I need. So I think we're in good shape to finish up some detailing and some chroming. Okay, I think I found a way to address the problems with the suitcase that dress it up and take care of the problem, and that is to throw some more of those country badges over top of it, because he's well traveled. It was weird because I used a combination of the weathering techniques, the weathering effects from Vallejo and the Tamiyas, and I was getting some gatoring texture, which on old leather kind of works. As an old beat up, broken up suitcase, that kind of works. So whatever of that comes through these stickers will be just fine in my estimation, but I'm letting that dry now. I am ready to, I believe, if I can find, yeah, there it is. I'm sure I didn't lose the other strap. I am ready to put this down on the, actually the other way around, ready to put this down on the chassis and get those two things glued together, and then it's going to be a question of adding the body and some final details like the bumpers and stuff, and I don't think I can put the bumpers on until the body's all joined up. But getting ready to do some final bits. I've got the A and the D drying over here, as well as a drop of clear red in the tail lights, and the headlights have been glued in. I just basically filled in that cavity with the crystal clear, put the clear bit over top of it, and hope that it will dry out clear. But if not, white's not so bad either. So let's get this guy glued down. Okay, the inside body is down on the rolling chassis, and the good news that I didn't cover was that the decals for the white wall tires seem to have settled down quite nicely, not giving me any problems, so I decided we're going to leave those on. But we're letting the glue dry here. We're dangerously close to being done. I don't want to rush it at this point. I've got all day to finish it. So it's a good time to take a break. Okay, you'll forgive me, but I'm making a rather late edition. I mean, it's Friday afternoon, for heaven's sake. I decided that maybe I need to put this on a nice little base that the car itself would get lost if I didn't put it on some sort of plaque. So I ran out to Michael's and I picked up a plaque and some fake grass, and I'm going to try my best to whip up something here this afternoon while all this is drying, and I should be able to put it together pretty quickly, I'm hoping. So let's get cracking on this. I've never used this stuff before, but I've got all the materials here that I need. So let's get down to it. Okay, we're calling this little buggy done. Got the suitcase attached. Got the front door attached with the movable steering column, because that's how it works. But there you go. And now I need to do some quick work on the base. But there you go. The muscle car, the mighty BMW Isetta 250. Now let's do a nice little country road for it to be driving on. And there you go. Now you have a nice little Isetta driving on a quaint English road, back road, with the cobblestones or the pebblestone road out in the country somewhere, enjoying a nice camp. Very nice. There you go, little quickie base, some scenic pebbles, some lichens, and I'm taking a lichen to it. I know that's an old joke, but I'm going to continue to use it. Some lichens, some scenic paper, some watered down Elmers, and you have an instant little country road. And let's put the now this has got to dry for like several days, but we don't have several days. I want to rush the final picture here so that you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. So let's pop the old Isetta on the base. There you go. Sorry, I had to cough. But there you go, just a little camping country road. And let's open the front. I was going to say the front door, but it is in fact the only door. Let me pop a blade in behind here to. There you go. And when you open it, the steering wheel, or the steering column, because it's on that pivot. It's on this pivot right here. It's just designed to be in this knuckle bone here. So there's your interior. Almost wish I had an action figure of the right size to put in there. And I'm using the top up option. You can easily swap that out for the closed top option. There's the closed top option. But there you go. Something out of the ordinary for my normal builds, but a fun diversion nonetheless. There's a little bit of closed door with the open roof option. The suitcase strapped to the back. There you go. Just a happy little car. It's the Bob Ross of cars. It's the happy little car. And that brings us to a close on this week. It's a fun little build. Something out of the comfort zone. Something out of the normal. You know, it's not a nacelle in sight. Not a warp engine in a bunch. But just a fun little build. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you don't mind me taking a break from the normal, faster than light subject matter that I normally build. I promise we'll get back to that next week. I'm still waiting on some lighting kits to come in before I can go too much further, but I can start preliminary stuff. So until next week, when we will be back to the great beyond, you be good. You be good to each other, and we'll see you here next time.
Gentlemen, a prayer silence for the President of the Royal Society for putting things on top of other things.
Yes, well, that's the sort of blinkered Philistine pig ignorance I've come to expect from you non-creative garbage.